Hey y'all, it's me Alex from the Longest Cosplays. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are having a good day so far. Welcome back to the Longest Comics Presents. Today, February of 1990. I'll actually be recording this and March of 1990. Today, on, what is today, July 12th? If you haven't heard for whatever reason, because I think I've mentioned this in the previous videos I've done, I will be going to Sacramento from the 15th through the 21st, so I'm going to schedule those while I'm gone. So I don't have to worry about anything. So, you'll still be getting me. I apologize, you'll still be watching me. No, but thank you guys so much for the love and feedback on the first episode, I guess, of the show. It was cool. It was cool hearing like how much stuff you guys are reading, way more than me. It was really fun to read all those comments and interact with you guys. I love doing that. This week will be much different than last week, because I have a whole stack of books. And as you've probably noticed, this isn't soda, it's tea. Milo's sweet tea, to be more specific. I'm not trying to copy Basement entirely. I just really wanted tea today. I had some leftover pork chops and rice from yesterday for breakfast. That was really good. And then I was like, I don't feel like drinking a soda today. Or at least right now. I wanted some sweet tea, and I'm a grown man. I can have sweet tea whenever I please, so long as it's in the fridge. So, sweet tea for today. I haven't actually sat down and made tea yet. I really should do that at some point. I feel like it would taste infinitely better than anything on the planet if I just made my own sweet tea, but I digress. Way more books to read. What kind of music am I listening to? Well, my good friend Eric over at SideQuest Comics yesterday sent me a message being like, hey man, you should listen to some 80s Steve Winwood. I feel like you'd really like it since you're a big Billy Joel fan. And I was like, cool, do you have any album recommendations? And he gave me a few, but the one that I chose was Roll With It. I think it was released in 1988 or something. Listened to that, wrote down a couple songs that, kind of stood out to me. So, the title track, Roll With It, The Morning Side, and Hearts on Fire. Those were the ones that really stood out to me. And I got a lot of Huey Lewis and the News vibes from it. Or from this specific record, at least, by the way it sounded. That could just be a me thing. Because it sounded a lot like 4 by Huey Lewis and the News. Which had this more like smoother rock vibes. I would say sports, but that one's just kind of more like pop rock. Like you're getting the full-on rock and roll experience with sports. But it sounded a lot like 4 to me, which is good. I like that album too. And then I listened to the Full Moon Fever by Tom Petty. I listened to that record entirely. Because I mentioned last week that I'd only listened to like Free Fallin', and I was like, I gotta do a little better than that. And Sean Basement Comics was like, yeah, everybody should listen to more Tom Petty. So I was like, alright, well that's my sign to listen to more Tom Petty. So I'm gonna be listening to more Tom Petty. Thank you, Sean. Some tracks that stood out to me, obviously Free Fallin', that's the famous one that everybody knows. Facing the Crowd, and Feel a Whole Lot Better. Those were some songs that stood out to me. That's probably what I would be listening to if I was driving to my local comic book store, buying all these books. All like 11 of these books. It would have been 10, but, and I'll spoil these, my good friend Adam, over and Up at Adam Comics, sent me an AOK of a bunch of Moon Knight books. I'm reading 2 of them today. Issue 12 came out in January of 1990, and I want to talk about this a little bit, and also issue 13 for this month. I'll talk about this a little bit. Like I said in the previous one, this was bound to happen. If I get a book within the week that I'm recording a new episode. So last week I did January. If I got a book from January within that week to this week, I would just rope it in with February. That's exactly what I'm doing. If I get let's say I'm recording a video for October of 1992, and I get a book from April of 1991, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna rope that in, because that makes no sense. If I miss 1 week, or I guess 1 month, I'll just add it to next month's reading list. Simple as that. So let's get into it, shall we? What am I reading? I almost set these down even though I wanted to show off what I was reading. Batman, Legends of the Dark Knight, issue 5. This is the only one that I have of the run, so my explanation of this is really going to be bad. Green Lantern, Emerald Dawn 4. Let me do this. Yeah, Emerald Dawn 4. Amazing Spider-Man, 331. I should do, yeah. I don't know how I'm holding these. Conan the Barbarian, 231. Daredevil, 279. Fantastic Four, 339. And then the aforementioned Mark Spector Moon Knights 12 and 13. We'll be reading those throughout the video. So let's jump into this, because I know I'm gonna try to side ramble a lot here, and I still probably will. In between my shitty explanations of these stories. Batman Legends of the Dark Knight issue 5. I shouldn't have to say it came out in February of 1990. Part of a 5-issue storyline. Which I'm pretty sure all these Batman Legends of the Dark Knight storylines are isolated. I think they did more than just one of these. I don't remember. I'm not a big Batman guy. I know like the famous stories like A Death in the Family and Nightfall. I know those, but I've not read too much of Batman pre-New 52. Because I've read all of New 52, and then I'm reading what's happening currently in the current Batman run by Matt Fraction and Jorge Jimenez, which is really solid. I really like it. So, yeah. And this was like one of the very first books I ever bought at a convention. It had to have been in like year 1 of me like seriously collecting, so probably in like 2018 or something. Had to have been. Because I know I bought this at a Charlotte Comic Con way back in the day. And you get like a cool Tango and Cash poster on the back. If you haven't seen Tango and Cash, please watch it. It's a really fun Sylvester Stallone movie, right? Yeah, Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell. I like Tango and Cash. I used to be obsessed with it as a kid for like 2 weeks. But Denny O'Neil, written by Denny O'Neil, penciled by Ed Hannigan. And throughout this entire issue, Bruce Wayne just kind of fighting this cult off for Alfred, because he's just an absolute badass. And the main thing I want to draw attention to is the art, because it's so beautiful to me. You get like the simplistic colors that you would get in like The Long Halloween, which is also a really good storyline, and where I started out reading Batman, funny enough. Rest in peace, Tim Sale. Anyway, so he's Bruce Wayne for a decent chunk of this. He puts on the Batman suit. Alfred's like, hey man, these people are dangerous, you gotta be careful. And Batman's like, don't worry man, I got this. So Batman, he kind of goes out, he does his like little detective work for a little bit, he fights off some criminals, you know, and then out in the city, he's out doing shit. And I get like almost Bronze Age vibes looking at Batman sometimes in this book. Because I'm a lot more familiar, at least in terms of how he looks, I'm way more familiar with Bronze Age Batman than I am with actually how it's written and the storylines in there. Like the Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams era. And this is just a really good page too. With Batman being all cool and shit. Again, he's dealing with a cult, which I love seeing. I like seeing that kind of stuff. It's not like Nazis. It's not like gang members. It's a straight up cult that does evil things, and they worship evil gods, and they do crazy and weird things to, I guess, seek out their religious goals? I don't know. But Batman kind of figures out how to deal with this kind of thing. He goes back to the Batcave, talks with Alfred for a little bit, and then he's like, okay, hold on now. I gotta find Tim Woodley. I don't know who Tim Woodley is, but I'm sure he's actually pretty damn important considering the fact that... Or Tom Woodley, sorry. Where the hell am I getting Tim from? I'm thinking of Tim Sale. I'm still thinking about Tim Sale. Tom Woodley. Jesus. Tom Woodley. He's out in the woods with the fresh snow on the ground, looking for him. And then, in one of my favorite pages of this book, he dies, sadly. Batman's like, rest in peace. And I love the way this panel looks right here. I really do. Again, you get the simplistic colors, the inking. It's amazing. John Beatty did the inks on this. It's really, really good. And some beautiful stuff right there. And then, throughout the rest of this book, they're kind of like processing and going through everything. Kind of recuperating from everything that's happened. The shaman comes back. Or at least something happens. The guy comes back, and then Batman's kind of standing on the gargoyle. The kids my age would call it aura farming. It feels weird that I have to say that, because most of my audience, at least most of the people that are going to be watching this, are old enough to be my parents, which is crazy to think about. It's something that I actually think about pretty regularly. It's something I tend to bring up a lot of the time. Is the fact that at least out of the people that I've met and have spoken to online, a lot of this community is like 40, 50-year-old men. Not that I have a problem with that. I'm cool with that. It's just like, it's funny to think about that. I'm like old enough to be their kid, and here I am making videos for them. It's funny. It's funny to me. Again, even without the context of any of the other issues in that storyline, I still really enjoyed reading it. It didn't make the book any worse for me. Again, the ending with Batman hovering over Tom Woodley is just, that like sticks out to me as like, that's so Batman to me. It's so Batman. Because the most that I know about him comes from like the animated series and a lot of the movies, and even the 60s series with Adam West and Burt Ward. That's what I grew up watching, actually. That was my first Batman, funny enough. And then Michael Keaton, you know. That's like who Batman is to me, and then the animated series, you know. I'm not a huge Batman guy. I like the character enough. I haven't gotten around to reading like early Batman stuff. I want to. I just need to figure out, like, do I want to start with Detective or do I want to start with Batman #1, you know? It's that kind of question. Green Lantern, Emerald Dawn 4. Again, plots by Keith Giffen, story by Gerard Jones. Written by Gerard... I'm all over the place today. Hold on, let me... Tea is helpful. Story by Keith Giffen, written by Gerard Jones. Pencils by the legendary, God rest his soul, Mark Debray. Inks by Romeo Tonghall. Continuing off of the last issue, Hal Jordan, what do you know, he survives the explosion. I mean, we knew he would. We absolutely knew he would, 100%. So, Hal's like, how the hell did that... I survived this? Like, everything... That's crazy. Like, I shouldn't... Whatever. And then he's like... Talks to the Ring, he's like, hey, Ring, you mentioned there... I can actually just recreate this. Because I have the Ring right here. He's like... Ring, you mentioned there are other Green Lanterns. Can I speak to one? Potentially? And the Ring's like, yeah, sure. And then the Ring flies him off to space. You know, he sends Hal off to space. Or I guess it doesn't really have a gender. And Hal's like, oh my god, I'm like actually flying. I'm flying uncontrolled, unprotected in space. Crazy. Legion follows suit. Remember, he's the big gold machine guy from the last issue. And so Hal lands on a planet. What do you know? He meets Tomar Ray, who's already on a mission as this is happening. And so Hal's like, "Hey man, I want to speak to you. I need, you know, I need to talk to you." Hal's like, or Tomar's like, "Who the fuck are you?" He's like, "I'm Admin Sewer's replacement. He kind of died." And Tomar Ray, is like, "Oh, that's sad. I haven't heard that." Not very distraught about learning about the death of Admin Sewer. And then there's this funny moment where he sees these blades of grass, and Hal's like, "What on earth?" He doesn't even finish the sentence, and Tomar Ray's like, "The Earth equivalent of this would be grass," and then, Hal's like, "Growing up in California, you learn how to deal with grass," so he takes a lawnmower to it, and it's an alien planet, so it's not going to work the same way as it does on Earth, so 2 more blades of grass come up right after that. It's a funny moment, but then Legion's kind of showing back up. He's catching up to Hal and Tomar Ray. So Tomar's like, "Hey guys, we're gonna have to go to Oa," which is really cool. It looks so much different in the 90s and the 80s. Even in the early 2000s, it looks different than what you're expecting it to look like nowadays. So Hal learns that everybody's a Green Lantern. He's kind of like, "How many of us are there?" And he's like, "Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot. There's also the Guardians of the Universe, the creators of the Green Lantern Corps and everything you see on this planet." And Hal's like, "What the fuck is going on?" Like, this is like a complete culture shock to him. He's like, "What the fuck is happening?" So Tomar's like, "Hey, look, let me just show you the Book of Oa." And then you get these 2 pages here where they're like little, I guess, small excerpts from the Book of Oa, and it's really cool to read that. Just kind of explains like the creation of the Corps, the Guardians, and who they are, or whatever. So they're like, "Oh, so what's happening? Like, you guys are fighting things that aren't what I'm fighting." And Hal's like, "Yeah, no, I'm just, I'm a rookie. Legion just killed my best friend or something. I gotta, I gotta fight this thing." And Tomar's like, yeah, no, you're gonna be training." So Hal's like, "Training? What?" So we cut back to Carol Ferris at a grave. She's kind of just mourning the loss of Hal's friend Andy, who died in the last issue. And Hal Jordan projects himself again like a Force ghost. A projection of him in regular clothing. Obviously did not reveal his identity as the Green Lantern. So, Hal's kind of, Hal has this story to explain to Jack. Carol is kind of just mourning. She's like, I don't want Jack to deal with the burden of losing your friend, in her mind. So Hal kind of explains himself to his brother, Jack, and he's like, "Hey man, can you cover for me? I'm gonna be gone for a while." And Jack's like, "Yeah, I got you." Without any question. Other than what's next, So, you get a cool training sequence featuring Kilowog. I mean, it's always cool to see Kilowog bust Hal Jordan's balls, in training. Like, you get all this shit. Like, if you saw the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds, and, oh my god, Mark Strong as Sinestro. You kind of get stuff like that in this. It's really cool. In which, again, I know most people on the fucking planet do not like that movie. I'm indifferent. I actually really like it. I don't think it's a perfect adaptation, but I think it's a really solid blend of Silver and modern, or Silver Age and modern Green Lantern, at least modern as of 2011. So like the Jeff Johns stuff. And I'm pretty sure Jeff Johns was a consultant on the movie. I think he did produce it or something. Not produce it, but he was heavily involved. It makes sense. But then Hal Jordan, he takes some rest or whatever. And then, oh, what do you know, Legion shows back up, so they're gonna fight him in issue 5. I don't have issue 5. But I that's what happens, they fight him, or whatever. So, sadly you won't see that. That came out in March of 1990, which is funny, because so did issue 6. It was like early March and then late March. So, again, I cannot stress this enough. One of the best retellings of Hal Jordan's origin story. It's really good. Amazing Spider-Man 331. In this weird hypothetical timeline, this would be my first Spider-Man book. And I'm introduced to David Michelinie and Eric Larson's, or David Michelinie's writing, Eric Larson's pencils, and just look at that. It's really funny that this book features the Punisher, and it's funny that I'm reading this in July because Brand New Day is coming out at the end of this month, and I am so excited to see it. I swear, like, this is like the once every year where I'm like excited for the MCU. Like really excited. Like, I was excited for Daredevil, Fantastic Four. Those guys are, you know, love what they're doing. Spider-Man, really excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day. And then after this, I think there's like a couple things, and then fucking Doomsday. I'm not excited for Doomsday. I'm really, the only things I'm really looking forward to seeing are the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. And even then, there was a banner that got released, or some concept art that got released, where you see like the 3 teams, and then Doctor Doom's in the background. And I don't like the way Doctor Doom looks to begin with in this movie. From what I've been seeing, I don't like the way he looks. I still can't get over the fact that it's Robert Downey Jr. I think that's the worst choice they could have went for. And I know it's just for money. I know it's for money. I still don't like it though. But Cyclops is the one that really pissed me off, because why do they keep taking off all of the yellow in his costume? Like, we have X-Men 97 Season 2 that's like releasing actively, and he's so colorful in that. Granted, it's an animated series, so of course it's going to be more colorful anyway, but like, still, why is it so hard to keep Cyclops' accessories yellow? They made his visor black, they made his gloves black, his belt is black. Why do they keep taking away? Like, there needs to be more yellow. If they're gonna go like the blue bodysuit without the trunks, there needs to be more yellow to break up the blue. Make the visor yellow, make the gloves yellow, make the belt yellow. Why do they keep taking it away? Marvel Rivals did the same thing, and I love that game, I really do. But Cyclops also looks terrible in that. Give him the fucking trunks back, it's not that hard. Like, if Superman can do it, if Superman can get his trunks back, so can Cyclops. And by extension, so can every hero that wore trunks. Fantastic Four, Daredevil, Captain America. I rest my case. Amazing Spider. Batman too. Batman can get his trunks back. Should get his trunks back. There's the argument that it looks silly. That's the fucking point. Yeah, they look silly. That's the reason they're there, to look silly. It's a comic book movie. Stop taking yourself so seriously. Be like Masters of the Universe. Be like Masters of the Universe. That was that like actually ruined my standards for comic book movies, because it was just unapologetically silly and not afraid to, you know, honor the source material. And it was colorful. That's really the thing. It was colorful. The color orange actually looked like it was orange. Pink looked pink. Blue looked blue. Anyway, go watch Masters of the Universe. If it's still in theaters where you're at, please God, go see it. It changed my life. And I'm a big He-Man fan, so I'm probably biased in some way. But it's so good. It's so good. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm gonna make myself angry. Amazing Spider-Man 331 with David Michelinie and Eric Larson. And this is still during a time where Eric Larson is emulating Todd McFarlane's art style, like early on. You can still tell it's Eric Larson by the way he does his faces, especially there. In the beginning of this issue, she kind of comes by the place that Peter and MJ are living at, and you know they almost get into like a cat fight, and Black Cat's like, no, I'm not gonna, I'm above that. I'm not gonna hurt you. I just want, Peter made a mistake marrying you. He should have been with me. I loved him. I thought it was a mistake breaking out this affair, but now I love him and I want to marry him. And MJ's kind of like, what the fuck is going on? Like, she's hearing all this for like basically the first time. Peter comes home and he hears the worst 4 words any man could ever hear with a lover. We need to talk. It's never a good sign if a woman says that to you. Never a good sign. Truly. Cut to New Jersey. Cut to New Jersey and you get Punisher. He's cool and shit. And then he's just kind of like, you gotta team up with Spider-Man. The United States government kind of sucks, in his eyes. Then we cut to Colorado. Don't know why Venom is in Colorado, but yeah, Venom's there. Because Eddie Brock is, hospitalized there. So, there's Venom. There he is. He's cool. He doesn't really do much in this issue. He goes from Colorado, all the way to the Bronx, to New York, within however long this story takes place in. And you can especially see that he's still emulating Todd McFarlane with the way that he draws Spider-Man proper. Like, those lenses are straight up Todd McFarlane lenses. Like, he doesn't do his own lenses until it's like in the 340s or something. So MJ's kind of dealing with her life or whatever. It's not great, She doesn't have much to do in this issue either. But yep, Spider-Man and Punisher teaming up. It's always good to see a team up with Spider-Man and Punisher. Peter's like, don't use your weapons on children. Why would you think I would let the... And Punisher's like, no. Only the people who hurt children fear or face my wrath. And Peter's like, if you fuck up even once, man, you're dead. And Punisher's like, whatever. So, this again, you get some more Todd McFarlane style stuff. This pose up here, this pose is a very Todd McFarlane pose. This is more Eric Larson. I've read a lot of the Eric Larson Spider-Man stuff. I know I haven't read too much Spider-Man, shockingly, but I've studied enough to know that is a more Eric Larson pose. He kind of does. If he can get those shoulders and arms widespread, he will do it. And of course, Punisher's almost about to kill people, and Spider-Man kind of steps in. He kind of interrupts, and then makes it about, Spider-Man doesn't want Punisher to kill people. And there you go. Yeah, a very Eric Larson face right there. This is definitely, and I can confirm this, I'm pretty sure this is an exact expression that was used for Savage Dragon at least about 10 different times. That's just the way that he draws. It's not a bad thing. And I love Savage Dragon. We'll get to that in like 2 years. But again, Todd McFarlane style Spider-Man. Him and Punisher just kind of talking about, and then they're kicking more ass. There's not much, at least in terms of like the actual contents of this issue. It's more filler. They're just kind of fighting off some crooks, corrupt government officials, that sort of thing. Then MJ gets a little greeting from our favorite symbiotic villain, Venom. Isn't that beautiful? So, nothing too special there. Nothing too special, but it's still a really good issue. David Michelinie, man, his writing is just, it's off the charts. It's really, you can never go wrong with it. Then we're gonna dive into another, pretty much another filler story here with Conan number 231 here, written by Jerry Conway, penciled by Frank Springer, inks by Don Perlin. Jerry Conway is, rest in peace, by the way, Jerry Conway. His writing can be hit or miss for me sometimes, but this one was a hit for me. I liked this one. I say hit or miss only because I wasn't a huge fan of his Iron Man run. I thought it was fine for what it was. It just didn't connect with me like it did some other people. But yeah, some 90s Conan. Essentially, he's just out for people that have done him wrong throughout this entire issue. It's really nothing too special. You get him in like that armor. He's not in the blue shirt like he was for so long, which I know a lot of people don't like. I don't really like it myself, to be completely honest, and I can feel my mouth drying up in the back. So the tea helps. I can see why Sean drinks this I might have to make this the regular drink, and just copy him entirely. Maybe I'll cut my hair shorter and start wearing glasses. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do all that. I'm not that weird. At least I hope not. I dress up as Spider-Man for a living. But it's a classic Conan fighting people off, dealing with kingdoms. You know, again, there's not much really to this, but he's just kind of helping people like buy and sell things, you know, being a protector of just another place in the time. I'm trying to see if there's, again, it's a very filler issue, and that's like what a lot of these were, at least during this time, because I think I've read most of, if not all of, the Conan books in my collection already. I do want to say that I like this page a lot, I like Conan swinging off, I think. Yeah, Conan swinging off. I like that. He almost looks like Batman or Moon Knight or something doing that. This king's like, don't waste time with the dead, which, you know, like dead zombies or whatever the hell. It's very weird. Then there's like another guy who kind of comes in. So I can get to it. There's another guy that kind of comes in, and Conan's like, it's essentially, does he kill this person? So there you go. Conan's fighting people off. It's very much like cookie cutter Conan fights. Conan, he goes into a kingdom. When I tell you that my explanation to these stories is terrible, this is really the main. This and the Batman story, pretty terrible explanations. I'm just kind of like giving you. If you're interested in reading any of these, please read them for yourself, because I am a terrible source of reviewing for things. So you kind of, this bald guy right here, he's kind of revealed to be like a spy-ish, and Conan's like, oh well, okay, that sucks. That's why, like why? And then he kind of walks off, and he's like, when will they turn on me? And it's kind of like, okay, whatever. Again, really solid filler Conan issue. It's kind of like what a lot of these were. They're like kind of one-off stories here and there. You know, nothing too special there. But getting back into some things here. Daredevil 279, continuing from the story from 278, written by Ann Nocenti. Thank you, Sean, for telling me how to pronounce her last name, because I felt pretty stupid trying to think about it for 5 minutes post-recording the last show. But thankfully he came to my rescue, and it's Ann Nocenti. Penciled by John Romita Jr., inks by Al Williamson, and Again, really, really good issue. Really great cover, too. By the hand of Mephisto. So again, this kind of goes off of the last issue. And you start out with, this fucking badass goat. And there's this kid that's kind of like associated with the goat or whatever. He's like, my mother told me to stay away from this thing. Everyone's telling me to stay away from this thing. They say it's a killer, you know. And he, you know, he's confronting the goat. The goat bites the back of his coat or whatever. And so it kind of like runs for a little bit. And then it's attached to this, chain. And the poor thing dies. Like, throughout the whole first pages or so, they're saying this thing is a deadly killer goat. And it dies within, like, 2 seconds. And it's honestly kind of sad. Maybe I have, like, more empathy for animals than a lot of things. But that's, like, really sad. Really sad to me. Then we cut back to this town, and Daredevil is still recovering from the last issue. And he's like, something feels weird. I don't know if I'm dreaming this, or... Again, I feel my mouth drying up. He's like, I don't know if I'm dreaming this, or if I'm making this up. Everything seems weird. And then... he's having to, just think about all this stuff. And then he's sitting down, he's like, there has to be something up here. Everyone's acting like a child or whatever. They're all acting like naive and ornery or whatever. And then you get more Blackheart stuff. Blackheart's still out to do his thing of torturing and whatnot. And we get, again, John Romita Jr. I love his art. I really do. And I think, especially of this period of Daredevil, I think it's underappreciated. Because it's so bad. If I could own, like, one of these pages, I would gladly take it and frame it on my wall somewhere. Mephisto's just also really cool. The way he's depicted in this is awesome. So, Mephisto sends Blackheart off to, again, do his thing of torturing and, you know, denial or whatever. And so, Kid shows back up for a little bit, and Daredevil's like, hold on. I need you. You seem important. Turns out the kid is important. So, kind of takes off for a little while. Then Blackheart kind of reveals that he failed his mission. And Mephisto's like, are you fucking kidding me, bro? He's like a disappointed dad, almost. Like, Blackheart can't corrupt anyone. And so Mephisto's like, you know what you gotta do? You gotta cheat. And I'm not joking, he says that. Cheat. So, that's exactly what's gonna happen. So Daredevil and this kid, you know, they're all on the little mountainside. And strange things are happening. They're monsters! Who would have fucking guessed? Who would have guessed that they're all monsters? So, Daredevil's getting all suspicious. He's like, everyone, it's so easy to, you know, they lapse so easily into childish, petty jealousies. He wouldn't feel good punching them, so he doesn't do that. And then he kind of experiences all of these little guys who look like the imps from Peacemaker Season 2, which is kind of funny. I love Peacemaker, I miss Peacemaker. Then, oh, would you look at that, Mephisto shows back up, and that's the end of that. I really like the storyline. I don't remember if I have the rest of it. I hope I do. I really hope I do, because that would be awesome. I'm pretty sure I have at least some of these, but... love it. Love that book. Really do. Again, can never go wrong. Can never go wrong with John Romita Jr. So... excuse me. Fantastic Four. This is issue 339. Released in February of 1990. I feel I have like the tendency to say that because that's usually what I do with all the books. Like if this is like a regular video, I would say the exact year and month everything came out. I don't need to do it because it's in the title, but it's like a I don't know, not like a muscle memory, but it's like an instinct to say that. Written and drawn by Walt Simonson, colors by Christy Shield, letters by Bob Oakley. Features Thor and the Gladiator on the cover. And they even poke fun. It's like, whose story is this now? Whose book is this? This was also a really fun issue. I haven't read much of the like later Fantastic Fours. I've read quite a few. I've read a lot of the Silver Age stories, but I haven't read a lot of the later stories. Like, I've read a lot of the 80s stuff, and probably some of the mid to late 90s stuff, but that's about it. And this is a part of a story which I don't think I have read. The corner of my lip, right here. Something must have happened to it, because I guess I, like, cut it on something, and it has been, like, pissing me off for the past couple of days. It's not, I don't think it's anything, like, serious, but, like, I keep, like, trying to, I need to stop doing that. It's a bad habit. I need to just let it be. I need to make, like, the Beatles and let it be. Anyway, there's this, like, thing, called the time bubble, and they figured out that the source of the time bubble is Galactus. He's here. And then, in what I think is possibly the easiest inking job anyone has ever had to do, look at that, like, 70% or 80% of these panels are just completely black. Walt probably had a goddamn the time of his life inking that. And I'm sure the letterers also had a lot of fun just placing these in wherever, or I guess, because based on how they're laid out, he had to have drawn where these went, or where the characters were. It's funny to me. So Iron Man makes an appearance. He's off. Thor is one of the main characters in this story, and Iron Man's helping him out. Everybody's helping Thor out. And here we go. We finally get the Fantastic Four, and this is during Sharon Ventura's tenure as the She-Thing. Ben Grimm is a regular human being by this point, which still always catches me off guard. And it's not like an uncommon thing. He's been reverted back to his human status plenty of times throughout the Fantastic Four's history, but it's still always weird to me, because I always it's just what I grew up with. He was always just the Thing, the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing, But here we get Shannon Ventura as She-Thing, and it's still cool. It's still cool. Reed Richards does a lot of fucking talking in this. I always forget how much talking there is in older comic books. Even though I read older comic books pretty fucking often, I always forget how much writing there is and how much story there is, depending on the book. So he's just often theories and science or whatever. Iron Man's basically doing the exact same thing. They're trying to, hurt or defeat Galactus once again to stop this time bubble from doing whatever the hell it's about to do. So Reed Richards again, science and whatnot. Here comes the Gladiator. Ooh, Gladiator. And then I do like Walt Simonson's art. I do. I'm not like the most familiar with Walt Simonson. I've seen him face to face. I didn't meet him, but at Heroes Con, he walked up to the John Reader Jr. booth. Like, it was like the first thing in the morning that I did. That Friday morning, he walked up to John Reader Jr. He was giving him some, they were all buddies or whatever. It was really surreal, because, like, I knew who he was, and even though I wasn't, like, and still I'm not, like, too familiar with his works, still surreal to me. I was like, holy shit, that's Walt Simonson. He just walks up to John Reader Jr. He's like, hey man, what's up? It's always surreal. But, I love Walt Simonson's art. And I'm really glad that he gave us this really slutty pose for Thor. And I mean, like, that's his full-on crotch just, like, hanging out there. For everyone to see. Obviously, it's all inked out, you know, there's no details, you know, they would never get away with that. But it's so funny, because Gladiator just punches Thor, and Thor just, it lands like that. And so, they spend the entire rest of the issue, maybe not the entire rest of the issue, but they spend a decent chunk of the issue fighting. She-Thing kind of keeps them apart. And you get this really weird, motion right there, up at the top, where she's, like, shaking her head or something. And so Gladiator realizes that Thor could speak English. Don't know why that didn't click with him at first. So they all kind of calm down. They calm down, they all team up together. Gladiator and Reed Richards are kind of just talking about, their enemies being, like, sitting ducks, and then Reed is like, hey man, if we pull off this plan that we're coming up with right now, your empire is gonna be defenseless. And then Gladiator's like, yeah, but if we fail, then I have no empire, so let's fucking do it. So they're like, alright man, yeah, sure. Johnny flames on. You know, they ignite this thing, and I always enjoy seeing the sciencey techno-babble of the Fantastic Four. It was very apparent in the Silver Age with Jack Kirby, because he was just amazing at that sort of thing. So, and again, the beep, 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 all the way at the bottom there. It's all sciencey. It's all sciencey. Everything is science with the Fantastic Four. So, you know, it works. I accidentally skipped a page. It works. However, whoa! This guy shows up. Pretty sure it's a, I don't want to say it's a Celestial. I want to say it's a Celestial. I don't remember how they look. But it is a giant thing, and it's gonna just, you know... That's for the next issue to worry about. Please educate me. I'm very stupid. I shouldn't beat myself up, but, you know. This was also, again, fun read. I really like this. Yeah. We're gonna get into better explanations of these stories here with these Moon Knights, because these two go hand in hand. So, finally, I will come back to explaining things that are somewhat comprehensible. And as you're beginning to notice, you really see where I specialize in, because, you know, a lot of these I haven't read in so long. But like the Green Lantern stuff really cements in my brain. But here we go. Mark Spector, Moon Knight, number 12, written by the Chuck Dixon, which surprised me. I forgot that Chuck Dixon wrote some of these. Written by Chuck Dixon, pencils by Sal Velluto, inks by Tom Palmer. And this one was in January of 1990. So I'll still talk about this. Obviously, I have it in my hand here. Only the living evil of Bushman could unite Moon Knight and Arsenal. And just look at that. Look at that. That is quintessential 90s Moon Knight. Moon Knight kind of wakes up in this, like, little base, I guess. And he meets this very Duke Nukem-like figure. And I only say he looks like Duke Nukem because, you know, he's got the sunglasses, the blonde hair, and the big muscles. His name is Arsenal. There's nothing too special about it, but... And I do really like this page. I like when they do stuff like that. Arsenal, drugged Moon Knight. I guess in the last issue. And my lips are chapped, and I keep... There's a lot of, like, really dumb and stupid habits that I have that I just really need to get, you know, out of my system. But anyway. Arsenal drug Moon Knight. They're hanging out, they're kind of catching up on things. And then Arsenal's like, hey man, I got a job for you. We need to get Raw Bushman, who's like the Moon Knight villain. And fuck Hyde lied. Anyway. And Moon Knight's like, I mean, alright, I guess I'll do it, but, you know, it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna not gonna be easy. It's fucking Raw Bushman. So, Raw Bushman, sound, you know, in Burunda. Jesus Christ. Burunda. He's out leading his little gang, his little cultish, you know. And then, most of this issue takes place in, like, France. Mostly takes place in France. The next issue also takes place in France. So, Mark Spector and Arsenal, again, he looks like Duke Nukem. I think there's another page here where he really looks like Duke Nukem, but, you know, they're kind of discussing the whole plan, what's gonna happen, like, how are we gonna go about this? Moon Knight, Mark Spector says, like, Bushman is a psychopath. You know, we gotta take advantage of that, because that is, like, his strength and his weakness. So, they continue planning things out, and so, in the New York City hospital, we come back to Jean-Paul Duchamp. He's in the hospital. Jesus Christ. He's in the hospital. He's calling up Mark Spector. They kind of catch up, and Mark reveals that he's gonna take on Bushman again. So, that's exactly what he does. He takes on Bushman and his cronies. Or Bushman's cronies first, and then he gets to Bushman, and there you go. Yeah, this is a very... If you just put him in a red shirt and blue jeans, that's fucking Duke Nukem. I really need to play Duke Nukem 3D again. Or rather, I need to beat it. I'm like halfway through, or probably, yeah, halfway through episode 1. Yeah. Anyway, they spend the rest of this issue fighting Bushman and his cronies, and then him and Moon Knight and Arsenal fight too for a little bit. But it's mainly Bushman and the cronies. So, and it's just classic Moon Knight stuff. I love this page right here. I love that page. I love when they draw Moon Knight like a, you know, like a badass, like he should be. And then we end right there. And then we're just gonna segue right into issue 13 because obviously they're connected and it makes the most sense to do that. So now, issue 13, released in February of 1990, and I realize I'm like coming up on an hour here, so I'll try to make this as quick as possible. Most of this also takes place in France, so get the police vehicles, which for some reason are in English. I don't remember like the French term or word for police, but I don't think it would just be police in France. But anyway, Arsenal's, you know, in the back of the shop. He kind of goes berserk. And again, Duke Nukem, put him in a red shirt and blue jeans. Also, same creative team as issue 12. Chuck Dixon writing. Sal Velluto pencils. Inks by Tom Palmer. Anyway. Double Dragon 2, that's a good game. That's a good game. We like Double Dragon 2. Anyway, kicks some ass. He gets out of the police vehicle. Moon Knight, and Archie Simmons, they're kind of just chilling out, hanging out there. So, again, they're trying to get shit on Bushmen. You know, not exactly fighting these people that are associated with them, but more like trying to get information. They steal a vehicle, or they steal weapons, and then they steal a yeah, they steal weapons, and then they find out there's a helicopter. So, you know, this guy and Moon Knight are talking, and Moon Knight's like, you know, I don't really like to work with mercenaries anymore. They're not like my favorite people. Which is funny because Moon Knight was a fucking mercenary before he became Moon Knight. I guess by technicality he still is a mercenary. But, you know, they take rest. It's daytime now. And then, you know, that night, they're gonna execute more of their plan. So, Moon Knight's in a fucking helicopter, and that's awesome. And then, Bushman gets a letter from him. He's like, remember my promise, from Spectre, Mark Spector. And so, Bushman's like, that's an inside joke. And so, while Bushman is being all evil and shit to all these people, Moon Knight, again, in a fucking helicopter, it's badass. With with other people, you know. He flies off, and then sudden explosion. And it's all just the army that Bushman is with, just giving him, like, updates and shit going on. And then suddenly Arsenal does come back. And again, I need to stress this. Duke fucking Nukem. I keep thinking about Duke Nukem, because it looks like Duke Nukem to me. It's, you know. But then, yeah. And there was a moment, I don't know if I passed it, I might have actually passed it. It was either in this or the last issue, where one of the guys calls Moon Knight Khonshu. Yeah, okay, I did pass it. Yeah, there was a moment where one of the guys called Moon Knight Khonshu, and he was like, who told you to call me that? He's like, my mother, you know. You're the god of vengeance, you know. And Moon Knight just kind of, like, takes that. It's really cool. Because you don't really see that much. You don't really see people calling Moon Knight Khonshu. There you go, I almost didn't try to be as careful as I am with these, because these are in nice condition. You know. So that's that. My recounting of these stories is awful, but I appreciate you listening to them anyway. I know I didn't go into as many rambles. I really am trying to keep these as concise as I can, but with how many books there are, it's gonna take me a while to do that, so again, I appreciate you watching these, and I appreciate the love and feedback I got from the first one. I'm gonna record the one for March in probably like an hour or so, after eating and filling up more tea, so for me it'll be like an hour of facing this camera again, but for you guys it'll be like another week. This video will come out this Thursday, the 16th. So I'll be in California by then. I will be hanging out with my buddies Astonishing Webhead and Eggsomnia over on Instagram. I'm pretty sure Chris Astonishing Webhead has a YouTube channel. I will link it in the description below. Check those guys out. They're some of the most talented Spider-Man suit makers I've ever met on the planet. Eggsomnia made me my Superman suit, which you'll see soon. So yeah, I'll be in California hanging out with those guys. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a great time. Yeah, so I will see you guys later. Bye-bye now.